Gentles and ladymen, I'm Spiro, and I'm not a wizard. Today I'm going to cover the updates I've done so far for my text adventure engine. I've started writing the editor for it. I've done a little bit more work on it since the last video, and I just thought I'd give a little bit of a rundown of it. So I'm doing it in Visual Studio Code, and that is kind of helping make it easier for me to work through the code and to be able to kind of quickly write blocks of code, figure out where they're going to fit line number wise. Doing a large program in the basic interpreter on the C64 was just a little bit too tedious for me. So I have so far got a main menu. I've got it doesn't do any, it can exit. I've got the ability to change the drive that we save the data files to. There's a couple of little subroutines here. One of them, for example, when I print the drive letter on the screen, I'll make that a bit wider. I have no idea what that is about. Rem2, what the heck? I don't know what those are about. That's new to me. I'll just hide that. Don't exist. What else have I got? We do a directory listing. So I can show a directory listing. So before you save a file or load a file, you can do a directory listing to see what's on the disk. The initial tests I was doing, I was restricting this directory listing to just sequential files. But I guess while I'm working on and I might make that the final product. When it's released, it might only just display the sequential files rather than all files on a disk. I'm not sure. So this has been, as I've covered previously, quite troublesome for me getting it to display a directory listing in a good format, and I've kind of left that. I'm gonna leave that for later. It's working well enough that I can keep going through the program. I've got a routine that checks for disk errors. The second screen is the game setup screen, so we can configure different options, game settings, locations, and this will be probably the meat of the of your configuration of the game that you write, or that I write, because I don't know if anyone else will want to. Game settings screens. So this is the game setup screen, and we can configure the default game settings. I'll show you in a minute. And this is the menu for setting up the game settings, and a bunch of other little routines. So these are part of the game settings. So it'll get, so you configure the game name, the author name, the version number of your game, the serial number of your game, and then there's a text reading or input routine, and I do reuse this a lot. So this is basically when you input something like a file name or a string of text like those ones above, and just to make sure that the stuff you enter is going to be normal screen characters or legal file name characters, so you can't enter in control codes and mess things up. So it does a bunch of checks to make sure you're entering legitimate characters. The thing is all in lowercase. It switches to character set 2, which is the uppercase lowercase character set on the C64. So I check for uppercase and lowercase characters. And I started on my menus for the object configuration, but haven't really done anything with that yet. In fact, that should I might make those just so that it compiles at the moment. So what I do is this code here, I convert it to a tokenized program file for the C64 using Petcat. I've got a previous video on how to do conversions between plain text to tokenized code and vice versa. So we turn that into a program file that Vice can run. No errors is great news, and we will run that using our Vice emulator. Alrighty, let me see the whole screen. Maybe I'll. Alright. You should be able to see the whole thing. Okay, so this is the main screen. You can press F1 to change the drive number. You can press F2 to do a directory listing. And as is my problem with my thing, it's very, very slow and it doesn't print the block numbers, but I'll get to that in another day. If you set a drive that doesn't have a disk in, so you can see here I've got drives 8 and 9 active, as in they exist for the emulator. So if I press F2 now, it'll say the drive isn't ready. If I switch it to a drive that doesn't exist, it'll tell us drive is not actually even available. Okay, so doesn't really matter. We can specify a data file name. So let's go gumboot.dat, and then that'll save it up there. Saving the game doesn't work yet. I haven't done that because I've got to figure out the format that I'm going to save to the disk with. Mostly I've written that down on paper, but I expect that as I'm writing the code and as I work on the game setup stuff, there might be some tweaks, so I'll leave that till last. If we press F5, we can go to the game setup. Now at the moment only the game settings exist. So if we go press S, I've tried to make it, I guess it kind of looks like an old school bulletin board menu, a simple one, and so I've got S for the settings, L for locations, O for objects, F for flags, to try and make it, you can quit to main, so you press Q and that'll take you back to the main original screen. So we'll go back in there and we'll go S for the settings, and this is where we can now enter in the game name. Let's call it iCoolGame. The author will be Spiro. The version of this game will be 0.1. The serial number. Normally in text adventure games, there's a common thing where you'll set a 6 character, which is not Y2K compliant, I'm sorry to say, a 6 character string which has got the I actually forget the order that it is, but it's basically, I think it's something like month, day, year, something like that. So, yep. I think that's what I've done. Did I do objects? Nope. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. Did I add in any other things? 800, 820, that's that screen. No, all I did was the settings and the quit to main. And the reason it had an error was because I've got these kind of placeholder go-tos. So yeah, just thought I'd give you a rundown. I'm sorry, I've got my videos of late have been sidetracked with the I started a series of programming in BASIC videos. It's designed to be a tutorial from scratch. Like if you know nothing about programming in BASIC on the C64, then that will be a good place to start. So I've as I'm recording this, I've already got 3 episodes up, and I've got kind of a plan for the next few episodes, and I'll play it by ear to see how it goes. The response has been pretty good. There have been a bunch of people who have been watching them who have done some programming on BASIC on the C64 and have learned a couple of new things. I'm trying to make a point of pointing out things like little quirks of the system, quirks of this implementation of BASIC, and yeah, it's I think it's a great place to start. I mean, we're doing all this. We're doing it for fun, right? So it's I will try and do as much as I can to teach people both BASIC and assembly language. I've done. If you haven't seen my other videos, I've done. I did a very extensive tutorial on a Hello World assembler tutorial. And that's it, it's just, getting people inspired, getting them to play around with it and have fun. That's my goal, really. So I'll leave you to it with this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. As always, please leave comments and thoughts below, and I'll see you in the next video.